Shalom. Today is the yurt side of the Baba Sali. Schusi again aleinu. Bezrat Hashem. I want to begin with a story that I heard from my dear friend Rabbi Binyamin Kaufman. So there was one time the Baba Sali in Morocco, and it was so dry that all the rivers dried up. And it's a known thing that us Yidden were very much into the mikvah. Yesh mikvah, yesh tikvah. When there's a mikvah, there's hope. We like going to ritual baths. Mikvah is a game changer. Anybody wants to completely change their whole life, start going to the mikvah. The mikvah is like going into the womb. And when you come out of the mikvah, you're like a new person. Just like when a child is born, katinok shenolak dami, like a new person being born, your whole life changes. So it was a severe thing because the mikvah dried up. And the Baba Sali said, this is not a good thing. The mikveh dried up, the rivers. So he told the rich members of the town, he said, you have to dig a pit, dig a hole for a mikveh. We have to make a mikveh now. So of course they did. Whatever the Baba Sali said, you did. And they dug this big pit for the mikveh, and they added pipes and everything. All the necessary features. There was just one problem. There was no water to go into it. So what did the tzaddik do? He stood beside the pit. He raised his hands heavenward and he said, Hashem, you know everything that we did is for you. That there should be purity within the Jewish people, within the whole world. And of course, before the Baba Sali finished davening, the clouds overhead in the middle of the Moroccan summer started pouring down, got darkened and started pouring down water and filled up the mikveh. Baruch Hashem. Later that day he went home, of course, to learn Torah. And shortly thereafter he was told that it came to his attention that one of the pipes inside the mikveh was not built according to the specifications of all the halachic authorities. Which meant that the mikveh was kosher to almost everybody, except there was an opinion that said that that type of a pipe would not be a kosher mikveh. The Baba Sali immediately went back to the mikveh and told everybody, empty out all the water. They said, we just had a miracle of this mikveh filling out. You wanted to empty the water out because the mikveh doesn't satisfy, one position within it. According to almost everybody, this is a kosher mikveh. Why would we switch up the pipe just to have it, make sure we might not get any water and have no opinions? You understand? I said empty the water. Don't play games with the Baba Sali. So of course they listened, they emptied all the water. And again the Baba Sali said, Hashem, everything that I have done is lichvodcha, is all for your kavod and to make purity within the Jewish people. That there should be mikvah Yisrael Hashem, there should be purity. Mikvah is purity. There should be purity in Klal Yisrael. It's only for you to increase purity. Hashem, bring the rains. And of course, before he finished davening, the sky is again filled with black clouds. And it didn't just rain and fill the mikvah, the whole town was filled with water. And it was a great, great simcha. This is the Baba Sali. Schusi again aleinu bezrat Hashem ve'al kol am Yisrael. Amen.
Does he have children, like children or descendants?
Yes, the Baba Sali's daughter lives in Harnof, the Busu family. Big Tzadikim.
Busu?
I used to go there for Shabbat.
My friend's Busu.
Yeah, the Busu family.
B-U-S-S-U?
I think B-U-S. I'm thinking about the Hebrew. The Beis Vav. Sanich Vav.
No way.
Look into it. If you're Mishpacha, it's a good thing. So that's the Baba Sali, yes, has family. He has lots of progeny. And the Abu Chatzera family are known to be wondrous mikubalim, and wondrous of seeing into the future and being able to do all sorts of very, very powerful things. Melubin Menisim is one of the ideas that they're filled with miracles. And one of the reasons why they explain, it's a known thing, is the Abu Chatzera family, one of the elements that makes their family unique is they're absolutely careful with shmiras einayim, with guarding their eyes. That's one of the unique elements in Abu Chatzera, is complete purity of eyes.
What does that mean?
They're known to make sure to not look at anything impure.
How do you avoid it in like a modern day society though? Like you go out, shopping to the Marcola or whatever.
So, practically a person has to do the best that they can. Practically a person has to do the best they can. As far as big tzadikim, they have, you don't have to, sometimes we think you got to go out for all sorts of things.
But we have Amazon and all that stuff that it brings right to your door.
Isn't that interesting?
Most of them.
What's that? Yes.
Zoltov has most of the things you...
That's right. You become a bit intelligent on how and what. You don't have to go into every single street. You can be smart how you go into places. Eizu chacham, who is the wise man? The Torah says, Haroyas hanoilad. You see what's going to come. If you know that going to that street is when all the high school of girls that are not dressed appropriately, let's say there would be such a place, is about to walk out of school. So then, why would that be exactly the place that I should go at that time? Maybe there's another route to go. If I go on that street, there's that billboard. I know there's those billboards on that street that are not, nowadays they put a lot of stuff. So if I know that that's what goes on there, so why do I have to frequent that area? There's other ways to go. And what, you think Hashem would give us a mitzvah of guarding our eyes and then not give us a way to do so? A person who thinks that like that is living in a fantasy land. He's basically living in a land that he's making up in his own head. That Hashem, He gives us mitzvahs, but He's not giving us a way to do them. Obviously, if God gave you mitzvah, you can do it. So on our level, we have to do our best. For big tzadikim, they have, I'll give you an example. Tzvi Meyer, when he went to America, on this last trip, the entire trip, you want to hear something? The entire trip, don't do this, unless you really are holding in this area, and then we could discuss it. He went to America, from Eretz Yisrael to America, covered in a talus.
The whole time?
The whole time.
Even in the bathroom? Like how he came?
No, in the bathroom, you can't take the talus.
Yeah, but they're also not, hopefully no one...
When he got to the TSA officers, he just for 1 second lifted the talus, they saw it. I'm not kidding you.
Like some Star Wars stuff.
Okay? It's just like, I'm not kidding you. That's what the tzaddik did. Okay? I'm not telling you to do that, but I'm just telling you that there's such a thing, his eye. And by the way, every Shabbat I go, bli neder, and I look into his eyes. Those eyes are so pure. You see that his eyes are so pure. By the way, you could tell in 1 second. I look in people's eyes, and everyone knows this. You can look in a guy's eyes, you could see what they've been looking at. In 1 second, you look in a guy's eye, you could see what he's looking at. So when you look at the tzaddik's eyes, and we were with Itchy Meyer a couple days ago, you look in Itchy Meyer's eyes, his eyes are so pure. You could see how pure they are. You see that they're guarding their eyes. Lo yisasuru acharei lavavchem ve'acharei einechem asher atem zoinim achareim. Don't go after your heart and your eyes, that you're, excuse my language, prostituting after certain things. You're looking at the eye candy. So each person according to the level to keep your eyes pure. So the Abu Chatzeres have a big thing with keeping their eyes pure. They're very, very good at this. And they get special powers because of it. You get secret powers that you can bring rains down from the heaven in the middle of the Moroccan summer, drought. It's up to you. It depends what kind of life you want to live. Yeah, Shalom. And then...
Can Shmirda and I have anything to do with like watching, let's say, sports? Like watching NBA or NFL?
So I'd love to say that sports was just, the experience of watching, weathered athletes who are excellent at their profession of choice, each one showing their precision and putting a ball into a hoop from further and further away with more precision, except that between the jump shots, I don't know why they have about 50 girls without clothing on dancing around. I'm not sure how that connected to the game of watching somebody.
Or commercials.
Yeah, I'm not sure how that was connected, what they thought. Elamai, what's the answer? It sells. It sells. Because if your eye can get lured in, that's what you want. You lure in the eye, and then a person keeps watching, and he keeps coming back for more. The person won't get secret superpowers doing that, so it's his choice.
If sports had if there was like a kosher sports channel, like that would be considered Shmiras Einayim.
Yeah, sure. Even though, so here's another thing. There's endless levels of Shmiras Einayim. There's the level called, I'm not looking at anything that's alluring. I mean, you have a grown man, a married person, and he's looking at women without clothing on dancing. And what do you think that's going to do for his shalom bayis? You think it's going to help him be a better husband? That now he's comparing all these girls to his husband? That's horrible. It's a churban. So there's one level of not looking at things that are not so nice. There's another, and by the way, those women don't want to be doing that. They don't feel good about themselves when they're doing that. They don't look at themselves in the mirror and think, I really feel a lot of self-confidence. I really feel good about myself, that I could flaunt my physicality. No woman looks at herself in the mirror because she knows deep down inside that she's so much more than just her body. And no man also, for that matter, who is some male model, feels good about himself. He knows that he's so much more than just his biceps. So he feels cheap that he's sold himself for his externals. What do we really want? We want the inner relationship. That's what we want. The inner relationship. Yeah, do you want to ask? My dear friend?
I was going to say, besides for women, what should you safeguard your eyes from? Are there any other aspects?
So there's two areas. Very good. There's two areas. There's one area, like we said, is going from not looking at things that I shouldn't look at to just, let's call it neutral. But then the question is, when I go from neutral, what am I going to? Am I going to holy, or am I just kind of staying neutral? People running around putting balls into nets, wearing short pants, I would say that's like neutral. Then there's things that you could spend your time looking at holy things, like looking at holy people, looking at holy text. The Gemara says that when you look at the Hebrew letters, when you look at holy words, they're machkimos. They make you wise. When you look at God's name, Shavisi Hashem L'negdi Tamid, look Yud Kei Vav Kei. In my study, in my house, in my office, I have written by a scribe, Shivisi Hashem L'negdi Tamid, in big letters, Yud Kei Vav Kei, on the wall.
Are you allowed to have that or no?
For sure. Adarabba. It's a great thing to have. I try to spend as much time just looking at a Yud and a Hey and a Vav and a Hey, and thinking about that. That purifies you very, very much. So, you can go from what's not good, okay, and then you want to at least go to neutral. What are the other things that are not good? It says you shouldn't look at the face of wicked people. Do not look at Hitler's face. Don't look at least for too long. It says you shouldn't be mistakel. You shouldn't gaze into it. You can look, but not gaze. If you see an idol worshiper, don't gaze at them. Also, we encourage people not to look at like animals having relations. Not good to look at dead animals. It's not good to look at things that are just impure things.
What if you just saw one on the street?
Okay, so then you saw it, move on. If you see an idol worshiper, you saw it, but move on. Don't stare and gaze.
Okay.
If a person, God forbid, sees an accident and you could do something, run to help. But this idea of just watching, when, God forbid, that's not someone hurt or injured. You want to look at, don't look at things that are going to be, impurifying. Okay, also that would include things, the person's not your wife. Do not have an adulterous thing looking at all sorts of things. Obviously nothing just inappropriate, which by the way, so much of it is inappropriate nowadays.
What about hearing things?
Hearing things?
Yeah, okay, you saying...
Also, you shouldn't listen to impure things. Impure music. Music is so influential. In the language of Kabbalah, music comes from what's called the sphere of Malchus. Malchus means influence. Malchus means when there's a king, the king has a power to dominate. That's why musicians are like kings. People like subjugate themselves. They be women ripping their hair out. Like, why are you ripping your hair out, little girl? It's just, what do you mean? It's just you can't stop. These are kingly people. So and therefore, what happens to a person? Everybody knows this. When music starts to hit, you start to get vulnerable, and you allow in the music. Allow it in. And that's why one of the most powerful things and hardest things for a person is to get off the non-kosher music, to get off the impure music. Because they're so like wrapped up in it.
And the aggression seems pleasurable as well.
Yeah. And also, by the way, they're designing the beats to pull you in. You know what I'm saying? The types of beats, they pull you in. You can't stop listening. It's engineered to pull you in.
What if you just know the balance between music and reality? Like, you don't take it seriously. You just do it for a sense of just, I enjoy it.
So the problem is that this is something that you can't fight. Is that we fool ourselves. We're so vulnerable when it comes to music. We open ourselves up to the musician, and the musician goes deep into our consciousness, which means the nefesh of the person, especially when there's words, the soul of the person comes into your consciousness, and he embeds himself somewhere in your soul, and therefore, when that person's soul is in your consciousness, I always give Biggie Smalls as my example. Before you guys were all born. Biggie! You know, more money, more problems.
Juicy.
Okay? So yeah, these guys. So they get into your consciousness, and all of a sudden you start having doubts about Torah and Shabbat and being inspired for Hashem. I don't know what Biggie thinks about Torah Sheba'al Peh.
But Rabbi, he speaks about facts also, about like how the hustle, like how he was hustling. Yeah, but like how he
He
was.
speaks on facts, like the hustle game.
So the only problem is, it could be that he has some, let's call, meaningful points, which pulls you in, but all the other things that kind of come along with it, they're packaged in. It's a whole package. When you get Biggie, you get the whole thing. It all goes in. It all goes in. And therefore, you're receiving the way that he feels about women, the way that he feels. I don't know for sure, but I have a feeling, some of the Chevra told me, that it was his videos were not exactly so favorable of treating people nicely, it's not so kosher, if you know what I'm saying. Putting women on display and things like that, and just bling and money. And I don't know if he talks about God, if he talks about that Hashem spoke at Mount Sinai, about Avos Hashem. Like, it's not a big focus. So that's a problem, which means you're getting Biggie Small's consciousness inside of you, and you're very influenced by it. Now, Baruch Hashem, we have great rappers. We have Nissan Black, right? L'chaim OG, Daniel Moya. Pardon?
It's not enjoyable.
Shlomo Dahan.
It's not enjoyable.
No, you get some real good rap. These are professionals, and you hear them rapping about good stuff, nice things.
It's not enjoyable.
You gotta appreciate. These are good. They know.
Okay, what about Drake? Drake's Jewish.
Yeah, and he's doing tshuva. He's doing tshuva. He said, I went to Ibiza, but I should have gone to yeshiva. He said that. He said that. You know, it's called a hear her tshuva. When a yid has one little bit of tshuva, he wants to do tshuva. Bezrat Hashem, Drake's going to do tshuva. He's coming with Hashem. Okay?
But his Yitzhahara pulled into Ibiza.
That's what I'm saying. Okay, so
I think he says I love Jesus in that song.
that's
In that song, I think
Yeah, he
says I
did.
love Jesus.
okay.
Because you mentioned Kanye, that's why.
Yeah, that's why.
That's not
Yes.
the word.
His friends, he surrounded himself with bad friends.
Gabriel, yes.
Are you allowed to listen to non-Jewish music that's inspirational, but they don't involve God or like that whole thing? It's just like very
Instrumental.
Like Rav Dovberg said about Rocky's music. Rocky
Singing and
Bubble.
like instrument, like both.
Coldplay.
All I'm telling you,
Stevie Wonder.
Yeah, Stevie Wonder.
Bob Marley. All I'm telling you is this. Okay, remember this
Bob
well.
Marley talks about weed.
But like they're not Jewish.
So remember this well. Remember this very well. This is the aside. I'm telling you guys the aside. This is the truth of the situation, and you'll do with it what you want. Okay, but you should. I don't want to say be warned, but I'm now telling you. that you're now empowered, and therefore you're going to have to make free will decisions here.
Okay, Rabbi, big
The
you think I'm gonna take a gun and shot you?
influence of the person, whoever they are, which means it's called the nefesh of the person. Whoever the person is. Anybody here make music? When you make music, you put your whole self into it. If I make music, I love singing, I love playing guitar, I love music. When you make music and you get into a place of music, you give yourself. That's why it's very powerful. Music, it's literally the human being has just put themselves completely out there, and you're receiving. That's why it's so moving, because it's like someone's giving you themselves. That's also why for a man to listen to a woman who's not his wife singing, we're not into that. Because he's receiving so much influence from that woman, and he's going to get attracted to that woman. It's not his wife. That's not appropriate. Because the whole person is coming in through the music. So listen to this. Whoever the person is, okay, I'm making you guys now empowered. Whoever the person is, whoever they are, the whole package of the person is coming through their music. When you listen to their music, you're receiving them. So all I can tell you, choose wisely. As Jews, we think music is the holiest thing in the world. It says the highest of all the spiritual worlds is called the Olam HaNegina. It's the highest of the spiritual worlds. Do you know what we were doing in the temple of Yerushalayim? We're playing music. It's all music. The Levim are playing music. All of service of God is with music. We love music. Get this very, very clear, my friends. The power of music is, whoever the performer is, whoever the musician is, they're giving all of themselves to you. And because music is malchus, it means you're receiving it, the influence of it. Whatever it is, whoever the person is, you're receiving them. And even if a person just thinks, oh, it sounds so good, it sounds so this, you're getting all the subliminal elements of that person who's the performer. And therefore, I can advise you, just choose your music wisely. We have an example, the Al-Shech HaKodesh mentions this by Shaul HaMelech, that Saul, the first king of Israel, became very, very depressed. And the only thing that would get him out of his depression was music. But it wasn't enough for any music. He didn't ask for Biggie Smalls. You know, he wanted to come and play music for him? King David. Because music from a tzaddik, music from a holy man, could take you out of the darkest, darkest pit of despair and pull you to the highest, highest levels of connection to God. If a person thinks that people that are, the Biggie Smalls and those, that they're going to pull them up, it's going to be an illusion. You might get a temporary high, but then you're going to go back down into a dark place. Holy music will pull you out once and for all. So now you're empowered to know music is mega powerful. Bezrat Hashem, choose wisely the music that you listen to. And Bezrat Hashem, we should be hearing the great songs of the Levim and the Beis HaMikdash from here. Amen. Good Shabbos, Rabbi Isai. Kol Tov. Good Shabbos. Shabbat Shalom.